Assalamu alaikum dear student. This is Miss Aisha Anwar from Biotic Academy. Hope you all are fine. Today we are going to discuss about a new topic, enzymes. What are enzymes? Why they are needed by the body of living organism? These are the all topics which we are going to discuss today in our lecture. Now enzymes are protein that increases the rate of reaction by lowering the energy of activation. This statement basically tells us that the body of living organism requires a constant supply of energy, a constant rate of reaction to be taking place in the body of living organism. In order to keep the reaction in the cell at a constant speed or at an optimum speed, cell needs some reaction which are needed to be monitored by the enzymes. These are the reactions which basically involved in cell activity are basically the reactions of producing energy by the breaking down of glucose and many other reactions like this which are basically needed by the cell to carry on at a optimum rate in order to keep the activity of the cell at an optimum speed. Now, what is the role of enzyme in all this mechanism? Enzymes are basically there in the cell in order to lower the rate of energy of activation. What is this energy of activation? Energy of activation is basically the amount of energy needed to start any chemical reaction. For suppose in the cell, if a chemical reaction needs 25,000 kilojoules of energy to start. Now, if the enzymes are present over there, it will minimize the amount of this energy of 25,000 kilojoules of energy to, you can say, around 12,000 kilojoules of energy. In this way, it will help to lower the energy of activation, means the energy which is needed by the cell to start any chemical reaction is basically, the amount of energy is basically reduced by the help of the enzyme. So in this way, enzyme helps the cell to start or to carry on the chemical reaction in the cell with a minimum usage or minimum utilization of energy. So the cell can use its reserves of energy in many other platforms or in many other places of the cell where the different chemical reactions are basically proceeding and they all requires energy. So enzymes are very important in this scenario that it helps to lower the energy of activation in the cell. Secondly, they catalyze all the chemical reaction taking place in the cell of the body. As I told you that they basically catalyzes. Catalyzes means to speed up the rate of reaction. Either it's breaking process or it's making process within the cell. The both process require energy utilization and enzymes helps to reduce or minimize the amount of energy needed to start a chemical reaction in the cell. Now, enzymes have their unique three-dimensional shape. What does this mean? They have their unique three-dimensional shape that helps them to fit a specific type of substrate in them. How this statement is going to prove itself? It can be proven by the help of this diagram. Means every enzyme have a specific site over their shape, over their structure, which is having a complementary shape to the shape of the substrate. Now here there are two theories about it. One is lock and key model and the other one is induced fit model. Lock and key model tells us that the enzymes have an active site which is basically a rigid shape. It's a rigid shape, as we know that enzymes are protein and protein are not rigid in texture. But the lock and key hypothesis says that enzymes have rigid shape and they can fit only that type of substrate which is having the complementary shape. Complementary shape of the active site of the enzyme that can only be fitted into this active site of the enzyme and the reaction can proceed. So in this way it becomes specific for its substrate, and this way it basically carry on or catalyzes the chemical reaction within the body of a living organism. Now this theory is basically getting older, and now the scientists believe that it's an older model or older theory which is basically supporting this idea that enzymes have a specific rigid active site. Now there are many other theories regarding the shape of the active site of the enzymes, in which they are saying that their shape of the active site get a little bit adjusted according to the shape of the substrate, and in this way they helps to catalyzes the chemical reaction going on within the body of living organism. Now the enzymes are very important in the body of living organism. They are very important in the cell in order to carry on the chemical reaction going on in the cell at a constant speed or at an optimum speed. There are some factors which basically affects on the activity of enzymes, and they helps to increase or decrease the activity of enzymes. The most important factor for the activity of enzyme is basically the temperature. Optimum temperature. Enzymes are temperature sensitive, as I told you that they are made up of protein, and protein are sensitive to heat. So when enzymes suffer or face any change in temperature in the body of the living organism, they get disturbed. Their shape get disturbed. And if they get optimum temperature, what is optimum temperature? It's basically the temperature which is basically needed by the enzyme to show its maximum activity of catalyzing any chemical reaction. So that temperature is called optimum temperature. But beyond that optimum temperature, the shape of the enzyme get denatured. The active site of the enzyme will get denatured. Denaturing means the shape of the active site of enzyme get disturbed, and it is no longer be able to catalyze any chemical reaction, and because its active site get disturbed, so it won't be able to fit any specific complementary shape substrate into its active site, hence won't be able to proceed any chemical reaction. And below this optimum temperature, the molecular energy basically which helps to do the reaction in order to make an enzyme substrate complex gets slow, because the kinetic energy in the cell gets slow at lower temperature, so that is not going to increase the rate of chemical reaction in the body or in the cell. So enzyme need optimum temperature, not below that optimum temperature, not above that optimum temperature, in order to carry on the activity in the cell at a optimum speed. Along with the temperature, there is one more factor that affects on the activity of enzyme, is basically the pH. Certain enzymes in the body needs different pH. Different type of enzymes needs different type of pH in order to work, in order to show its maximum activity or productivity. We can judge different type of enzymes on the basis of the pH requirement. As we know that pH 7 is basically a neutral pH. Below that neutral pH is basically acidic pH. Above 7 pH is basically alkaline. So different enzymes require different type of pH. Some work at 7 pH, means the neutral pH, and some work at best at acidic pH, and some work best at alkaline pH. This pH basically helps to retain the shape of the active site of enzyme in a proper condition, and if there is any little change in the pH, that will definitely have a very bad impact on the active site of the enzyme. And if the active site of the enzyme get disturbed because of the change in pH, it won't be able to bind any substrate with it, and hence it won't be able to carry on any chemical reaction, any metabolic reaction within the cell. So I hope you have understood all the concepts which I have discussed today regarding the importance of enzyme, how they work within the cell, how they lower the energy of activation in the cell and speed up the rate of reaction, and how their activities being affected by the temperature and pH. Hope you will like my video and subscribe my channel. This is Miss Aisha Anwar from Biotic Academy. Take care. Allah Hafiz.